All right, that was a Tupac Changes. So I never really realized this until this is something I'm coming to the knowledge of the longer I live. But I don't know, or I didn't realize for a very long time, that you never really stop parenting. No matter how old your children are, no matter how many children they have, no matter where they live, no matter how successful they are, how accomplished they are, you never really stop being a parent. And you know what? Whether they admit it or not, they never stop needing one. Case in point, Sunday, I was in New York, and I try to call my children all the time, except for my son, who's usually out chasing out with his girlfriend. He has no use for his family right now. But I generally talk to my daughters probably every day, a couple times a day, right? But this particular morning, it was this Sunday, and I just knew that I needed to speak to my daughter. And I talked about this a little bit on the show yesterday. So I called her, and she answers the phone, and I notice how beautiful she is. And then I notice that she's doing two things. She's crying and she's running. So, of course, I spoke about this before. My daughter was diagnosed with breast cancer early in the year. It was something our family had never, a lot of families, it was something that was hard to get through. And I think we're working through it as a family. But for her, I can say that it has made her different a lot of ways. It's sometimes better, sometimes a little more, just a different situation. So I called her. She's running off. She's crying. And she is apparently at a survivors buffet. And these are young women who were diagnosed with breast cancer. And they were in various stages of survivors. Some people had been 10 years. Some people were just going into chemo. Some people had just been diagnosed. So it was an interesting thing, and it was a club that she never wanted to belong to, and I'm sure that none of them wanted to belong to. And the minute I called, she started crying, and she said she started crying because in her head she said she needed me, and I just happened to call. I don't know what it was that made me call, but I do know this. I do know that I knew she needed me for whatever reason. Usually when I call my daughters and I know they need me, it's for a couple of hundred. So it's not, but this time when I talked to her, she needed to know that she was loved. And obviously she knows that she is somebody's child and that somebody is looking out for her. Even though, she has a great husband, a great family structure. Sometimes a daughter needs to be a daughter. Sometimes a son needs to be a son. But sometimes a father needs to be a father. I needed to be needed by her just as much as she needed me. And that is a lesson that you continue to learn. But I will say this, it stands, it is, despite all the logic that goes along with it, all the chronological ages, all the accomplishments, parents will always need to be parents. Children will always need to be children. I have a friend of mine, and he has an estranged relationship with his children. And I said to him, keep being a father, because it's not like some person in the streets. It's not like somebody you had an argument with. That is your child. Keep being a father, and eventually they'll know who you are. Children get to do and go off and be these things, and they get to forget that. As a parent, we never get to. So children need to be children, but parents need to remember will always be parents, as expensive as that is. It's a little note from the GED section. We got the Jazz Report coming up in 15 minutes. It's the D.L. Hughley Show.